Okay, well, we're starting the recording. It's going to be Rod's going to start off here, and then I'll have something to say, and then Tatiana will present what she has for us after that. So, welcome, Rab, Pillow, Luke, Gwizzy, Casper, Bean. I know. I mean, this is a Friday, right? And it's kind of like midday for me anyway, and it's pretty tough for most people when the weekend's just getting started to make a meeting like this. So we appreciate y'all being here. So yeah, we're going to start out with Rod. He's got something for you. So Rod, take it away when you're ready.
Yeah, welcome everybody. Good to see the ones that are here. And I got kind of caught off guard because I always got confused with the time. It's 10 o'clock over here. I thought it was going to be at 11. I was sipping on my coffee, so I'm a little bit jittery right now. So if you guys remember, I shared on a video on my Total 2 here this set of sequences for the EMAs and SMAs, where I highlighted that lower prices usually come or tend to come. For me, this is very strong indicator when the 200 SMA here and the 100 SMA cross. Over here, we tend to plateau on our prices and is the best time to accumulate for me. But before this happens, we always get our warnings of the 250 EMA here on the green. You guys can see it crossing that same 200 SMA. And I don't know if you guys remember or not, but on the video, I touched on Solana and how at that time when I brought it up, it had already crossed here. And we had our second clue that lower prices would come when the 200 EMA crosses the 200 SMA here. And of course, we did get those lower prices. This 50, I just added it yesterday just to see what we're trending as right now. So you can forget about that one for now. But the point is, we are getting those lower prices. At the time when I showed that these two guys had crossed to the downside, we were still holding the 100 SMA up here. We've since then lost it, and I'm willing to bet we're coming down to this area around here, at least 100, 100, and probably test this lows over here. If you look at my parallel here, it most often comes to test those lows with that parallel. Now, we just got our cross here on Total 2 that I've been waiting for right here. We got this on June 12th. I actually had it highlighted here. So that's something that puts me at a bearish stance because we were at the top of this parallel here, and the market just didn't have the volume it needed to break out and continue. Now with the war drums that are beating right now, of course, it can also just be an excuse, but the market is doing what the market is doing, and we're gonna get across as well here with the 50 into the 100 as well. If you guys can see that here, we're soon to get that, most likely. Of course, we can always break out and something happens, regulations get cleared. Most likely, I don't think that's going to happen in the next 2 weeks. I do see that coming late summer, maybe early fall, where we'll get our breakout. But we're most likely coming to test all these levels down here. 1 trillion on the Total 2. Total 3 was the same scenario at the top of the parallel. We're now retracing. We're losing the 50 and holding the 100. So these are the levels I'm watching for right now. If these downtrend continues, we can bet we're going to come all the way down here. On my eyes anyways, I don't want to scare anyone, but that's what I'm watching here. We did get our first warning of the 250 to the 200 downside, and we're getting lower prices. We're now trending towards the 200 EMA to cross the 200 SMA, which could happen in the next few weeks. That said, some of the things that make me think we're going to get lower prices as well, and is another data point that I use. It's the astral planets, right? Like you guys know I'm a little bit into astrology, and I had mentioned that Pluto, whenever Pluto is retrograde for crypto markets, anyways, it tends to be debilitating for the market. I have highlighted here in red every time it's been retrograde, and rarely do we have new all-time highs. You can see here we did have nice upward trends over here. However, as soon as Pluto went into retrograde back here in 2021, May 21, we did get the sell-off here to later recover, right? And create a new all-time high after Pluto had gone forward. So it's kind of the same scenario as what I'm thinking right now. Here, we entered Pluto retrograde back in May 4th. Since then, the market is trending down. We did get a nice push June the 9th, and there was a nice constellation where, or not constellation, but alignment when Jupiter went into Cancer. And that tends to be bullish for the markets. And June 9th, we did get a bullish move, right? Since then, we are getting some bad Astro, and the one that's most concerning to me is June 15th, which is this weekend, which is Mars square Uranus. Traditionally or typically in the past, this has seen drops in the markets. So is what I'm watching with everything that is happening at the moment. In terms of levels, I like my parallels, so I'm not much into daily trading and stuff like that. I think Tatiana is, yeah, your go-to for those levels and bike. But in terms of trend, I believe we got a pretty good clue here as to where we're going. Top of channels, we're trending down. So far, the total is holding the 50. So this is an area to watch here. 3 trillion to break this and get across, depending on how things go this weekend. It can definitely happen. So yeah, that's what I got to show you, and I do think it's something for us to keep an eye on. Anybody have any questions? More than willing to answer here.
Yeah, thank you for that, Rod. While people are thinking about questions, if they have any, I was just curious, looking back at that first structure way back at the very beginning of this chart that you say looks like the current one, kind of. Just scroll all the way back to the very beginning of that chart.
Okay, this one here?
Yeah, that right there. Yeah, that's exactly it, that first red box. Do you see a possibility, even with bad Astro, that maybe it's a little bit, right there. Do you think that that's a possibility? It could be more forward than what you think?
Doing this here?
Yeah.
I mean, possibilities are always there, right? It's just I don't see it. Why I don't see it is, one is Astro, right? One is the keys we're getting here, the clues we're getting here on total two. At least altcoins are telling you right now, or in my eyes are telling us right now, that lower prices are going to come. We got this cross, and you can go back in this chart and try to find the cross that didn't come to fruition with lower prices, and it's almost impossible to find. Now nothing has to be the same, right, in the future, but also in terms of regulatory things that are happening in governments, especially in the EU, that's going against privacy, and USDT leaving, and investors not having a true definition of where their money should be going. Until we don't get that clarity, I don't think anybody or retail is going to be jumping the gun to buy any projects. I think what we got with the meme coins this cycle tells us a lot as to what the market makers want us to do, and that's be distracted while they settle everything and announce the true projects that are going to be implemented going forward into what I think is a new monetary system. And I think it's pretty clear that that's where we're going.
Mm-hmm. So that blue line, that really
Ro-
light blue line, is the one that you're looking at that it could bounce out.
This 200 SMA here?
Well, all the way down on the channel.
Here?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
if we
Rod,
go
can you
zoom
please
out.
oh no, well yeah, that too. Can you just have that blue and red line and hide the rest? That way it's easier on the eye
Okay,
so I could look at it, please.
sure, sure. Let's do that. I believe that's there you go. Now, I don't want anybody to think that this is what's going to happen here. This whole entire thing here, we can easily have a flush
Right.
and
But
and
can
return
you
quickly.
push
Yeah.
this back further? Because I mean, it's pretty
Yeah.
much a bear market. So I'd like to see the bull market and see how it reacted then. So we had that cross and it did dipped lower.
We almost had it here, but we did not have it. Right.
Wait, so are we saying we have to be careful for the blue line crossing down?
Oh, yeah. I mean, if we get to that point, well, actually, that's where we are right now at that cross, right? So that's why I'm putting that warning out there. Oh, what's happening here? The aliens are
The
taking over or what?
blue line below the red means it's going up, and then blue line.
200
Wait,
here, the 200
I'm
EMA
just
crossing to the downside of the
no,
200
I know. I
SMA.
just want to go back.
Yeah,
I want to go back to that other where the bull run actually started. I want to see the cross.
here. You want to go here?
Yeah, please. So blue line below the red means bull market, right? Because it was
Not
below the
necessarily.
entire.
What I watch for when things are going to turn around, I'm watching the 100 here, the relationship of this line. I'm waiting for the cross of the 200 and the 200 EMA, both of them. And that tells me, and the price falling below the 100 tells me, okay, it's time to start buying whatever project it is that you're bullish on, right? This is when I would start buying. Anytime we've fallen below all these three lines, because a bounce is eventually going to come, right, towards testing this 200 as well. And it'll play here, right, until the market feels or that particular project feels that they've collected enough funds to push it up again, right? So, yeah, and then once we cross these two to the upside, you can start believing and thinking there is a stronger move coming. But there's also something to say about the relationship of these other lines, right? Like the 250, the 100, the 200 EMA and the 250 EMA, in order to be in a bullish market, have to be on top of the 200 SMA, right? This is just the sequence. This is the way it works right here. 100, 200, 250, 200. As soon as we start losing this relationship here, you can bet we're going to start seeing lower prices, and it's always the case here. So yeah, going back to what Bike was asking, you can see this parallel, and this is a section to watch, and we could even spike all the way down here if things really got scary, but I don't want to say anything about that. I think we could even just come and test these guys and take off as well.
Yeah,
So
and that would make a lot
the
of
Have we had
emphasis
sense.
that
is
cross?
yes, we
Have we
have.
had that
Yes.
cross
On the
on
total
the?
two, we have. On the total two, yes. Not
Okay.
on the total, yeah. Because of BTC, of course.
Okay, and then can we go to your last image, please? Because I want to see the date you had the red boxes.
This guy.
I wanted to see, yeah, I wanted to see that end date. What's the end date on that?
Hold on, because my computer is doing funny things here. There we go. I don't know what it's doing. The end date of the box is October 13th here.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't. This could go sideways up until then. My bias is we test lows here at the bottom here, and then really get clarity sometime when we're down here as to where we're going, and really take off into later end of the year, beginning of next year. Also, something worth noting is that when Jupiter retrogrades, um, it really is bullish for the markets. And that's happening November 9th, 25, until March 11th, 2026. So this is the window that I see us topping or being up here, or maybe even further, who knows? But I've noticed this relationship in the cryptocurrency markets. It's just boom.
And
So
I'll
that's
tell
what
you
I'm
why
watching
that's
for.
I'll tell you why that's so
That
important is because every single. I mean, I'd like to think that we're going to pump sooner than that, but I'm very open to that idea just because every single pump we've had this cycle has been during that time frame, like October, November, and then it tops around March.
Yeah, yeah. And let's not forget, right? Like selling May and go away, it turned out to be true. They held it until the last day of May, but it turned out to be true so far.
yeah. I mean, the timeline for my stuff correlates with your timeline,
Mhm.
Rod.
Mhm.
Um,
And that's
I have
good to
a
see,
couple
right? Yeah.
differences. I have a couple differences, but all in all, on a macro scale, it we do align in that sense. Um, but within like the time frame, like I don't expect us to go that low as you're seeing, and I can see
Yeah.
why you see that, and I totally
Mhm.
respect it. It's something to put into consideration, of course.
Mhm. Yeah.
Uh, but we'll move along. So like, yeah, that
Yeah, I
was some
mean,
great work.
just to hammer it home, Ton is one of the coins that I was watching. Sol, Shiba, Ton, and a lot of the coins are telling you the same thing. Here's the relationship right here. We're about to get this 100 across the 200 SMA, and you can bet we're gonna probably test this lows over here at a
Yeah,
178 or whatever.
this
And yeah,
I'm like, I just want to say like this correlates with the dominance that I'm gonna show. And it's actually excellent that you're actually bringing this up because I mean, we see the markets in total different ways, and it's just nice when we find similarities
100%.
in some connections.
Yeah.
So,
But yeah, that's all I got. If anybody's got questions, I'm more than glad to answer.
Rab says that's so beautiful. I don't know if you can see the chat or not. I just wanted to let you know what he's
I
saying.
don't know. I don't.
There's a little chat button right here where you can open chat if you want to. But yeah, if anybody else has any questions or anything, I mean, you can type it in the chat or you can open up your voice.
Yeah, don't be shy.
Bean says you're beautiful, Rob. He hasn't even seen you. How does he know that?
Yeah, he hasn't. I was just gonna say that he hasn't even seen me. Yeah, yeah.
Our
But if not,
Troy.
yeah, go ahead, take it away, bike, or if
I don't
that's
know if I
who
want to read
next.
this one. I'm not a French person. Our Trois Mousquetaires. Oh, Three
menage a
Musketeers.
trois. I think he's trying to say
Yeah,
menage a trois.
that's why I didn't want to say it.
I'm the pimp here. I have two guys.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
All right, go,
Okay.
Ricky. Take it
Yeah.
over.
We'll move ahead here. Let me share my screen. Okay, so mine's kind of interesting. I'm just gonna show you something that I found kind of cool last night. I mean, war is never cool, but this is gonna show kind of some, Twitter when things are talking about when they're talking about war. It's trending and everything on Twitter. And by the way, Rob, Luke says awesome analysis. I don't know if you saw that. It's in chat there.
Oh, thank you.
Bean says I'm going to stick to English and Spanish. Okay, so I just have a few things to show here, and then we'll go on to Tatiana. She's got some good things to show as well. And yes, definitely, I appreciate what you showed there, Rob. It was really good. And I think, one thing I want to mention is we're in a time now, the modern times, when we have AI and, all this on-chain data. you can't rely on just strictly charts anymore. You have to take in everything, you know. So like Tatiana was saying, it's good that we have different views, and especially when, you know, things do align, because there's a chance it could work out that way. So what you're looking at here is the Bitcoin CME futures. This is the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. All this is basically options for Bitcoin. People can bet on future price. And what I wanted to show is the relationship of, like right here, we've got a gap. And technically that one has already been covered right there. You can see the wicks coming into it. But if we go down to a lower time frame, you'll see there's another gap here on the daily. Now these don't always have to, you know, immediately be covered. Like right here, you do see a bearish one that got covered immediately within, what, 2 or 3 days. You know, sometimes you'll see this play out where, you know, maybe price action, where's my little drawing thing? Price action could do this for a while and then eventually cover it and then pump like that. So just be aware that, you know, it doesn't mean there's going to be an immediate dump down just to cover that gap and then it's ready to go. You know, these can take a while to come back down and retest that area. But just know that when it comes to how people perceive gaps in this chart, they do tend to think that it's going to be covered at some point. And I believe there may be only one that hasn't been covered so far, but you know, usually what'll happen in the future, it will cover it, but I'd have to go back and look at that. Really what I'm wanting to show you here, it wasn't necessarily about gaps. I just wanted to show you what this chart was about. This is more the dates that I went into ChatGPT and said, hey, you know, what dates have we seen war trending, you know, as a news item on X or on Twitter. And these are all of those dates. So I'm gonna go back here to the weekly chart so it's easier to see. This was in the bear market, so I'm not really gonna count this one, but this is the Ukraine conflict, you know, before it happened. And there's actually a little bit of a pump before the bear market continued. But let's just disregard that one, because what we really wanna look at is anything during the bull market. So each time that this happened, you know, sometimes you would get a little bit of a pump and then a dip. Sometimes it would pump right away. You know, here's a dip here. So it really just depends, you know, in my opinion, it depends on where the market is at the time. Like say, for example, we had a really big pump here and it, you know, there was some distribution here and, you know, people were unsure whether the market could continue and actually create a higher, you know, an all-time high. And so you had this shooting star candlestick. People weren't ready to push it higher. And then you had this war news that was used as a scapegoat. And then, you know, it kind of just went sideways for, what, a few months there, many months actually. So this isn't as much of a pump that has happened recently. You know, usually when you get a huge pump, there does need to be some consolidation for continuation. It's just healthy price action, right? So since we've had a consolidation lately, and this isn't going against anything that Rod had to say, I'm just saying that since we have had consolidation and we had a small pump, there is still a possibility of moving up higher here before any more consolidation. But also at the same time, it's kind of a 50-50 deal. You know, it could come down here and retest this. Well, that's not what I'm looking at. I'm looking at the weekly. Right here at about 100K is what we were talking about. So just to wrap this up, let me go to the Bitcoin chart, and I want to talk about that support area. And Tatiana is going to get more into, you know, what the levels are for Bitcoin, what she's seeing. But what I wanted to show was the volume profile. So if we take, and this is kind of like a learning moment if you want to do this yourself, if we go on the daily chart and I just take the low, you know, the local low is what I'm calling this because it's the most recent lowest low, and then the highest high. And then I'll go over here and I'll grab fixed range volume profile, which you just click on the little arrow next to the little long position tool there, and then click fixed range volume profile, and then click the very bottom of that local low, and then hit the local high like that. And now you can see, here's your value area high. This is basically the premium. You know, most people aren't going to be willing to buy up here, and that's why you get a rejection. But most of the volume happened right here where this red line is. They call that the point of control. So a lot of your buyers and sellers were fighting for position there. And so, yeah, the buyers won for a little bit, and they even won again right here. You know, it held support. And I can actually draw this a little bit further here so it's easier to see. If I can see my little tool. Oh, there it is right there. I don't know if it'll let me draw it that. Oh, okay, that's the bottom. Sorry. There it is right there. That's what I was looking for. So it does actually change it just a little bit if I draw it further, but I wanted to extend that line for you. So what this is showing you is there's a lot of support right here at 103, 104K, but there's also some, if we move that back, bring it back to that area. I wish they'd make this easier to do. Okay. So if we bring it back a little bit, you can see a lot of the support and resistance was right at that line. And you've got a lot of these wicks coming down to about 101K or so. So that 100K area is a pretty strong support level as well. And you can see these two candles right here that were also about that 100K level. So that's what we're watching for the short term. Short term is very difficult to predict, but you are getting a lower high here on Bitcoin. There's a lot of indecision still at this level. Nobody really wants to pay this amount up here. They want to wait for better value basically and get better value out of their money. So understand that this area right here, 100 to 103K, that's one support area. And then you've also got one down here where a lot of volume happened right here. See this huge little mountain looking thing? That's where a lot of the volume happened if we were to lose that level. And that's that 92 to 94K. And the reason why that's important is because that's where that CME gap is at. And if we go to like a weekly chart or something, we've always talked about how, if you were to use your fibs, that you pull it from down here. I've actually got this reversed. But you pull it from the bottom candle body to the upper one or the upper candlestick. I need to reverse this real quick. Okay. So these are the levels where it could bounce. These are the levels that, of course this is on a weekly. It would look a little bit different on a daily. But, these are roughly the levels that it could bounce at if it came back down. So it's pretty close. That 93K is about the average of 92 to 96K. And then you've got 102K, we just talked about that. So there is one here at 97 as well. You can see some of these wicks came up here. So I'm just giving you support levels to watch for short term. We're getting a lot of indecision here. Anytime you see these candlesticks that have a spinning top where there's a small candle body and then like two of these skinny candlesticks on either side, that means buyers and sellers, nobody really knows which way it's going to go. They're kind of playing tug of war with it. So I do believe that this is a possibility to, see some of these levels right in here, either the 50% retracement, 382, or the 0.25. But still this looks very bullish structure, from this low right here after this consolidation during, what was this, late 2024 to April of this year. So that's what we're looking for. Anytime you get a huge move like this, there's usually some kind of retracement. But we'll see. Rod mentioned we could just go sideways. It's definitely a possibility. And we are seeing, by the way, last night I posted, let me just bring this over here real quick. Last night I posted about schizo. Oh wait, I didn't mean to bring that up. Right here. So schizo had a 40x pump. This is an older token, by the way. And sometimes even when Bitcoin looks like it might have some kind of correction, you're going to get these alts that just pump out of nowhere and nobody expected it. So, maybe that'll happen to one of our tokens. Who knows? I mean, KTA for Grizzly, I think he was the one that made a 10x on that one. So it can still happen even during this moment where Bitcoin, kind of looks weak and needs to rest a bit. So, it can still happen for your alts, even if the market doesn't look great because of war or whatever. So I just wanted to let you know that, that's something to watch for. And I think that's all I wanted to show for you. I'm going to turn it over to Tatiana here and let her show what she has. If you have any questions, let me know. Mine's a little bit more simple. Okay.
You'll have to pull up the images for me, Ricky.
Yeah, I got you. Oh yeah, that's right. I need to keep streaming, don't I? Okay. So Elliott wave first. Let me make sure I get the right thing here.
No, divergence first.
Okay. Okay, this is it right here. Can you see that?
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to start off with just pointing out the most obvious without using any EMAs or SMAs. And that's just the plain divergences that we find with Bitcoin. I've highlighted the bearish divergence completion that we had once we went from approximately 46K all the way up to like 109. And we had that bearish divergence that we made a warning around those months saying that we were going to see a slight correction. So that is why we then had that correction down to 74.4K. That is why I have on the screen, it says bearish divergence completed. Now with that correction, something beautiful printed for us, which was a hidden bullish divergence. Now, within technical analysis, a hidden bullish divergence is always seen as a weaker divergence in comparison to a bearish divergence that we currently find ourselves. Why right now within the structure we see in front of us, the hidden bullish divergence in this point is stronger in comparison to the bearish divergence we currently find ourselves that you can see within the dotted line. And the reason for that is because that bearish divergence is more of a micro bearish divergence because it's within its own structure. As it's in comparison to the hidden bullish divergence, it's found within two structures, which is why I made the gray boxes for you guys to see. So in essence, what is this pointing out to us? This is pointing out that the bearish divergence within the dotted line is pretty much saying that we are going to see a slight pullback within this structure, within the structure that we find ourselves. But that does not mean that we are going to break the levels of 74.4 because of that hidden bullish divergence. So I just wanted to point that out to you guys. Now we can move on into the Elliott wave so I could go into essence about that. Okay, so this is a wave count that I personally have for Bitcoin. And right now, if you zoom in, you can see that we are doing a micro ABC, which is also a micro intermediate wave 4 that we're currently in. What would happen? Ricky?
What's up?
You lost the
It just
picture.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm pointing at things here like I'm Vanna White, thinking it's working. Hang on. That's weird that it went out. Let's see. Let me just share the. I'm gonna do it differently. How's that?
There you go. Okay, so we're currently in the micro intermediate wave 4, microwave C. And then from there, so that green line lies somewhere around, give me a second, let me pull it up on my chart. It lies around 96,000 with a possible wick down to 89,000. So those are the levels that we can possibly come in to see to come into fruition for Bitcoin. And then from there, we just get the last wave up of the microwave to 5 to complete its cycle top between 130 to 150. And like I said many times, that that calculation's based on wave 3 and wave 4. So somewhere around that range is where I see the cycle top for this for Bitcoin. Now, this is why I'm saying that after we reach those levels is when we're going to see a pretty much a deep correction of a minimum of 45%. And I'll go into that. So can you go to the next image, Ricky, before I go into that?
Okay, which one are you looking for now?
That one.
Okay.
Okay, so this is a chart you'll see that it says mean on it. I'm gonna pull this Dr. Pump Fun thing that he says where I cracked the code. So I kind of cracked the code with back in 2021 using simple math. And that's just finding the average within its cycle, right? And this is specifically, this chart's already laid out because this is already gonna be within the presentation for July that I have been talking about. But in essence, the mean is very important in terms of the measurements for the entire cycle. So when you see the yellow lines, pretty much the yellow lines in this image is showing you where that phase is going, it can literally go to 130 or 150, I mean, and correct all the way down into the 50s and still be in a perfect market structure for the explosive move up to 250. Now, the 250 measurement is just a measurement within the average between the 54K and the 150 because we have yet seen the top for what we're going to see soon. And I yet don't know how low we're going to go. So I had to get the average between that, and that's what gives us 250. But if we do go down to the 50s in that yellow box, in that yellow range, I mean, we can go into the 300s, but that's future tense. I just want to point out this chart for you guys specifically to see that this is what I'm seeing for this cycle is that we're going to hit 130, 150. You're going to hear a lot of people saying the cycle's done, but within my measurements of the catching the average within this cycle, it tells us that it's not done and we're going to have one last pump, which a lot of people are not going to be aware of. And the reason why I say a lot of people are not going to be aware of is because, like I said, we're going to have a drastic correction once we reach that 130 to 150 range. So that's just one thing I wanted to point out so you guys could be aware of, and which is why I feel like we are not going to go low past the green EMA. And another reason why I don't see us going below the EMA with the finishing candle is because that when we just finished coming out of it, which was right at the 74.4, which then again, I'll pull another crypto pump.fun. I called the bottom. I told everyone that 74.4 was a bottom. Everyone knew. I actually even called it ahead of time that April 7th was going to be the bottom. So leading on to that, that's pretty much what I'm seeing for Bitcoin. And I do still believe we're still going to have a run this summer. But what Rod pointed out earlier, and where I see confluence is I see the last pump into the 130, 150 and having that nasty correction down to about that October where Rod has his time frame, is where I see the confluence in that. So now that we covered for Bitcoin, I want to go into the Bitcoin dominance. So yes, perfect. So I highlighted for you guys the gray boxes. Excuse me. The gray boxes is obviously where we climax for alts, right? And the pink trend line is pretty much where I see when we hit euphoria is when we're going to hit the percentage between somewhere, when I measured it, I think it was somewhere between 44 to 46% around there, is when we will know that it's time to get out of all our alts, because that's when we've reached the top for alts. But where we currently stand, 71% is a key trend line because I noticed that we touched that at various times before the momentum actually shifted. However, before I get into that actually, so I pretty much drew out the line that the trend lines to the side where you see like an ABC going down to the 45%. The thing is right now, because I'm seeing Bitcoin with that micro bearish divergence going down, it is a possibility that Bitcoin dominance can also go up. And I'm hoping that we can go into that to like the 68 level. And and I'm calling 68.5 the actual top because obviously when you look below, when you look at the second box of the climax, you can see that we didn't go as low as 36. So that's saying as above, so below. So I'm kind of using that that reference, and I don't expect us to touch 71%. I expect us to touch 68.5 and seeing that more as a marker top for the Bitcoin dominance, and then crawling down. But because we have that, like I said, that last pump that I just showed you from the last chart, I'm seeing that we're not going to get the euphoric alt where literally your freaking grandmother's meme coin that just launched is going to go and pull 1000x. I don't see that happening until we hit that 45%, and I only see us reaching that 45% level when Bitcoin has its last pump. So post post correction after the 130 to the 150 range. However, which is why I'm saying that when we reach that 53% is where I'm seeing the large caps run, right? I feel like the large caps will run then, and then the micros and everything below the large caps is where I see everything really doing stupid returns once we go below that 49%. So if you could go next to the next image, Ricky. Okay, so I pretty much did a color code for you guys, so it's just literally simple. Above the 60, I believe the 62% is literally the green section for alts. And this is not correlated. I just want to make sure I point this out. This is not correlated to price. This is correlated to momentum. Momentum and money flow going from Bitcoin into alts. Because in the grayscale, you can find alts bottoming, but you still see a correction coming while Bitcoin dominance is climbing within that green section, creating its wave 2 for alts before it has its, and then it's the momentum of explosiveness doesn't happen until after Bitcoin dominance doesn't only top, but starts turning around. So that's really when we can start seeing our alts like really taking off. But for now, this is where we're at. This is where I see pretty much, this is pretty much is what's pointing out is that the money flow and the momentum is at its end days for Bitcoin, and it's moving into slowly but gradually going into most specifically the large caps. And then, like I said earlier, when we reach the red zone is when we want to just be completely out of the market within alts. Yeah, that's what I have for you guys. That's what in this chart I want to literally just say that like we're pretty much we've been in this green range for about, because this is a 1 week, so we've been a 1 week time frame, so we've been in this for about a month now. So like I'm just hoping at this point that when we have this correction of this micro bearish divergence that I showed you guys, that we can just literally have one candle just go straight to the 68 and call it a day, and then just continue on. Because it's been, if you see the candles of an uptrend, it's been nothing but like a very steady, gradual climb. Another thing I didn't point out is that every time frame that you look at within the Bitcoin dominance, it doesn't matter if you're going from the 3 week, 2 week, 1 week, literally every time frame has a bearish divergence. So it's just a matter of time. And I've been saying that, but like, I'm not making this up. I'm literally showing you what I'm seeing. And I wouldn't be surprised if the bearish divergence continues until we have that 68 touch and then turn around. So just something to keep in mind. But that's what I had for you guys. And let me know if you guys have any more questions, and I'm happy to answer.
That's great. I just wanted to make a quick point. I don't want to step over anybody here asking a question. I will check the chat here in a second, but I just wanted to make a point of confluence. We know that fractals actually do play out over time, although in the moment it's hard to see. And I just wanted to talk about something really fast that I saw while you were talking. This W is this W. This correction is actually, this was correcting up, basically. I know that sounds weird, but all of this right here is actually this. And then this, let's see here, this higher low right here is this one right here. So I believe that you're right, that we are somewhere right about there. I believe that's what happened right here. And we've got just a smaller push, you know, a little bit more. So I think you're really close. And of course, I'm just guessing at this, but you know, this does look similar to me. I've been watching this fractal for a long time, and especially this part right here. So I do believe that even though this was moving, you know, up and had an obvious correction here, this one's harder to determine, but I do see some similarities there regardless.
Well, yeah, I mean, with what I know you're just going based on the fractal, but when you look at the divergence, right? The divergence didn't, it depends on the time frame, of course, right? Because like if we look at the time frame within the 3-week, the divergence started after where your mouse is, where those red candles are. That top of it is where that divergence started. But if you want to go like into the weekly started all the way down to where you said that like a little bit above the 49%. So that entire no, the other one. Great. That top from where you were previously, that's literally all a divergence on the weekly. So what you're saying is not off, right? Based on the divergence chart.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's literally just a waiting game.
Yeah, definitely.
I can't say that anymore.
It's been a long one.
Yeah, it's definitely, this cycle has definitely been for the patient and only the patient.
Okay, let me, I'm going to turn off this, and I'm going to turn on this one where we can see the chat. That way we can show what people are asking here. Yeah, okay. So let's see, let me go back to the questions here. Okay, Luke is asking, are you banking on us losing that 100 to 103K level and get that dip to 92 to 97K? Yeah, he was actually asking me this one, but yeah, I mean, back when I was talking about that, I do actually, but you know, what we need to watch for, and really the reason for that is because of the gaps down there. I mean, we know that people expect those gaps to be filled. And because of, you know, the scapegoat of the war, I mean, we don't know how long the war news is going to last. Sometimes it lasts a while, sometimes it doesn't. But they love to use that scapegoat to bring price down, you know, to let them buy in cheaply. I can guarantee you a lot of these trading desks, like whatever it may be, what some of them, JP Morgan, whatever, they're going to be buying that dip, I guarantee you. And they have been buying the dip. You know, remember when price slowly, incrementally goes up, you know, they're starting to sell their position as it reaches, you know, their target. But as price comes down, they're slowly buying. You know, they don't buy all in one block. They slowly buy as price goes down. So they're probably buying right now, even as it hits 100 and whatever K, you know, 103K, whatever. So if it gets down there, they're going to support it, you know, especially at that gap. There's going to be some support. And it could just wick down to it. It may not be there long. But yeah, I mean, the reason why we talk about those levels is just so you're prepared. You know, maybe you've got some money on the side that you want to deploy. You know, be smart money yourself. Don't worry about just throwing it all in there all at once. Be okay in your mind with incrementally buying. And then that way, if it does dip further, you just buy a little bit more. And then eventually, once it turns around, creates a higher low, then, you know, maybe you put the rest of it in there. Or if we get a lot of buy signals, whatever. Let's see. Pillow asked, could we go higher for current B wave? Do you know which chart that is that he might be asking about, Tatiana? Oh, that must be I know which one it is, sorry. I think I do anyway. Is he talking about the Elliott wave, maybe? Did you see that question? Yeah, the EW, okay. He's asking you there, Tatiana, if you want to cover that. He's asking, could we go
Yeah,
higher for
I
the
think
current
I was
B
just gonna
wave?
say maybe. Oh, there she is. Yeah, maybe she stepped
I am
off. Yeah.
so sorry. I've been
It's-
talking to the
it's a-
screen and I'm like, why are you? Um, what was I saying? Oh yeah, so we're currently in the C wave, so the B wave has already been completed.
Okay. Let's see.
So yeah, I mean, I think I already said it.
Yeah,
Anyways.
yeah. I was going to move on to the next one unless you got anything else on that. Going off the Elliott, this is from Bean. Going off the Elliott wave count, would that wave 5 be the final top of the cycle? And then he laughed that you cracked the code.
Yes, for me, within my wave count, I believe 130 and 150 is a cycle top. Like I said, nothing is black and white, and which is why I brought up the following chart because, like I said, that mean when I did the measurements, it's showing me we're gonna have another top. Okay, so how do I say this? Cycle top for me for one is 130, 150, correct? That doesn't mean we can't go higher because this doesn't mean it's correlated to price. So what I'm expecting, given the fact that the measurement is showing me another cycle top, that means we're going to have an irregular flat of an ABC correction. So what that would mean is that from 130 to 150 we top, then we have that massive correction to have that A within that frame of 54 to 150 that I highlighted. We're going to have the first correction of wave A. After we have the correction of wave A, based on the measurement at the time, because I can give you a more definite response in that sense, we will have a higher price, which would take us to that 250 range on average to create wave B. And then that would be, quote unquote, the last hurrah. And then we have the final impulsive correction of wave C all the way down. So that's what I'm saying. Like, it's not really black and white. That doesn't mean that because I have the cycle top of a wave count finishing at 130 to 150, that doesn't mean price wise we are not going to go higher. It just means that the layout is not continuing, or at that point just going into a corrective pattern of an ABC. I hope that answers your question. Which also I would like to add, which is why I also believe, because we're already in that corrective pattern of the ABC, which is why I also see the momentum and the money flow going from Bitcoin after the 130 focusing, or the 130 to 150 focusing into strictly into alts. Does that make sense? Please let me know if that makes sense.
Let's see. I think Bean, are you still here? Yeah, Bean's still here. Yeah, just let us know on that, Bean, if that covered your question. You cracked the code. Yes, you cracked the code.
Get out of here, Bean.
Okay.
Can you read it to me? Because I guess I could just go into the chat. Give me a second.
Yeah, right now I'm on
Okay, there we go.
at 11:41.
On your Elliott wave, we are in wave 4, wave 5, and in C leg down currently. Also, we are still watching. Yes, Luke. Yes to all of that.
And I don't know what Don Pablo is talking about there at 11:41. Give us the exact percent that you called from bottom to top.
It was because I was trilling Dr. Pump.fun. I think
Oh.
he wrote that during that time.
Yeah. No, I think that's, hey, if you call something, there's nothing wrong with saying, showing the receipt.
Yeah. So, anyone have any questions aside from Bean trolling? All right.
Let me me just check here how we are on time. Yeah, we got plenty of time left. So if y'all have any other questions, feel free to ask. We're only about 50 minutes in here.
Yeah, so does that make sense of how I see? I guess this is more of a question for Rod, because do you guys see how I can see the confluence between my stuff and Rod's stuff?
I see what you're seeing for sure. I mean, Elliott waves can be hard to decipher. I tend to stay away from them because they can be very confusing. But I can see how we can still be in a wave five, although some people can think that we have already topped the wave five and we're correcting, and it could be a wave of a correction and waiting for a C. So that's the bearish view of it. But I can definitely see where you're coming from.
They've got some questions for both of you. If you want to check the first question there, Tatiana.
For
Final
me,
question.
the favorite alt actually, I would I would I don't want to say the word advise, but I would actually look at ZEC or Zcash at this moment with the environment the way it is. I think we can probably see a pretty explosive move in Zcash in the next 6 months. Rick, if you want to pull up actually the XRP fractal and the ZEC fractal on top of each other, however you want to do it. I mean, it's incredible. It's like it's the same thing. So I expect the same move because of what's happening in Europe and because of what's happening with legislation in the United States as well. So that would be my go-to, and yeah, I plan to start putting a lot of money into that one for sure. Other than Tidenex, which is my favorite one.
Which fractal portion are you talking about? The
Oh,
current
you can
move
go.
that
I love 3 days, so I do 3 day, and even you could even do a week and put them side by side. Make sure you use the trading view one, so it gives you the whole history there.
Mm-hmm. So
Yeah, keep going, keep going. Just show the whole thing. Yeah,
the whole
like
thing.
zoom out.
Okay.
Yeah. Is that all of it? I think there's more to that.
Are you talking about the
the
XRP
second.
specifically?
XRP and SEC, I think they both had the same moves. Is that the whole history of them?
I mean, there
Can't
could be
be.
another. That's the USD. Or USDT. I
If you
could bring up the
look at
USD.
the trading view one,
This is from 2018 here.
see here. Yeah, so Zcash on TradingView goes all the way back to November 16. So
2016.
yeah, 2016. So if you go Zcash USD, you should be able to pull up the TradingView one.
Maybe Poloniex. I'm gonna have to put this on log, I think.
Yeah, I guess that would probably be good. But your XRP one's still
Yeah.
lagging.
Oh, that's
there.
because it's USD. Yeah.
Actually, that looks confusing. Yeah, it's not exactly what I wanted people to see, but
Yeah. So
let me
this is
see if I
Bitstamp.
can.
Hang on. It's kind of messing up the chart because of that wick. I don't know. I don't know how far back.
Just go CE or ZAC USD and look for the trading view one.
Yeah, I got it right here. But
That's
this wick
cool.
right here at the very beginning is causing an issue. Hang on.
Yeah, that's just the birth of the coin, and
There we
then
go.
XRP USD as well for
Yeah, it's working now. There it is.
Yeah, I think you just gotta maybe put them on regular, both of them maybe, but yeah, basically Zach is doing that exact same consolidation as XRP did, and
Mm-hmm.
it's taking a little longer, but I can see that explosive move coming at some point.
Yeah. So this, you're talking about this one that happened back here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
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 Yeah, it does look very
See, there you
similar.
go. It's like, yeah, it's like it's imprinted. So that's I really like those, and those 15 coins that I gave you guys, I've changed a couple of them, but they're consolidating, and in my view, are going to be selected projects in terms of governments, and they're going to see moves like this, which goes to the thesis that they have been keeping these projects away from our eyes
Mm-hmm.
because they're going to eventually be implemented in whatever legislature they're going to pass.
And you're working on a full PDF of those tokens, aren't you? That'll be ready in a week or so.
Yeah, yeah, it'll be ready for in a week or two. Yeah, I'll put it out for everybody to see.
Okay.
Yeah, so that would be my answer.
Okay. Thanks. Um, did you want to answer any of these questions, Tatiana, or are you just talking to them in chat about it?
Harry responded in chat.
Okay.
Well, sounds like no one really has questions, so I guess we can just call it a day.
You just did too good. Y'all did too good at answering the questions.
Yeah.
But yeah, y'all are welcome at any time. I mean, I know y'all are talking in chat, but just open your mic up and what do they say? Use your words. I kind of hate that terminology, but use your words. Yeah, we're glad y'all liked it. We tried to be a little bit more structured with this one, and we'll try to structure them all going forward as well. Just understand that we all have we're in different time zones, so I realize that this isn't the greatest time to be having these. Some people are at work, but every once in a while we'll do some on Saturday for people that can't make the weekly ones, and it just depends on our schedule. We'll try to do our best, though. Yeah, that was really good, wasn't it? The dominance chart and the other ones that Rod and her showed. I think it's great to have the different viewpoints. I hope y'all enjoy that. Oh yeah, ETH, we can look at that really quick. I'll actually turn off Engineering Robo here. We don't always have to look at Engineering Robo. I mean, it's kind of the same situation. If we talk about, I don't know that there's actually, I don't remember if there's a CME type way to, do contracts on ETH. There might be, but you can see this huge imbalance right here, right? Where we had, starting on May 8th, there were, some huge green candles. Well, usually we get a retrace of that at some point. Because just like with Engineering Robo, we always have some sort of, if there's a huge candle, we talk about if there's a buy signal and it's just a massive candle, it's better to wait for like a 50% pullback over, it could take 3 or 4 days for it to happen or more, but you're going to get a much better price than chasing that green candle. So in this case, we're looking at, what would this be, roughly 2,400 to, I'd say right around 2,400, we'll call it, is really strong support for this little sideways action that's going on right now. But if we were to do a 50% retracement of this local low to the local high, then you would be looking at a retest of roughly 2,100. But there's also, I need to get rid of this line so it's not covering this up. There's also a golden pocket right here that's very possible for it to retest as well. We never really know exactly where this is going to hit, but anywhere from 2,000 to 2,100, I would say, is a very good range to expect for it to. But if we get extremely bullish, I mean, sometimes you stop at like the 382 and it keeps going. And we know that ETH, like if we go back to ETH BTC, I do have a chart for that here somewhere. We know that this one has been in purgatory, right? It's just, dominance for Bitcoin has been causing this one. Oops, sorry, that's the wrong one. I think I've got a dominance. Yeah, here we go. So dominance on the left, ETH Bitcoin pair on the right, and it's still causing, if I get rid of some of these lines here, just pay attention to the box. You got a red box over here that's resistance. Although, like Tatiana said, we could still see something like this up to 68 or so, and then it finally rolls over. It's kind of faking out up and down here right now currently. And if that was to happen, then you could still see one more rollover with a lower high, or a higher low, sorry, where it kind of creates a W here, and then ETH is ready to go. Don't pay attention to the timeline here. I've got it on monthly, so it's going to look like this happens way out at the end of 2026. But that's not the case. We definitely feel it'll happen before that. So yeah, anyway, that's what would have to happen, roll over by Bitcoin dominance. That causes the ETH Bitcoin pair to take off. But at the same time, it could just hover here in this box and then take off. It doesn't have to come back down to here. Definitely see it creating a higher low regardless. Like if we go down to a daily chart or something, this looks a lot like the ETH USDT pair, where you had a huge imbalance right here, and it comes back down, retests 50% or so, and then it's ready to go again. Very typical, after a buy signal to see something like that where it retests. Hopefully that answers that question. Benjamin was saying, so Bean said Benjamin was saying next stop was 66% dominance, yeah. I mean, we all would love to see that, right? Where there was just a final blow off top for Bitcoin dominance, and then we were, assured that it was rolling over at that point. We just want to get it over with, I'm sure. That's kind of where everybody's at right now. Okay, well, we'll wrap it up there, guys. I can't thank you enough for being here, your participation, and, you're taking the time. It means a lot to us, and it makes these videos a lot more fun for people to be able to watch later. You are the group. We're thankful that you're all creating a community here with us, and we couldn't do it without you for sure. So we're all a part of the team. Everybody's a part of the team. Okay, well, it's Friday. We get to look forward to the weekend now. So y'all have a good weekend. Try to get outside. Do all that stuff to take care of your body. We got the big pumps coming in the future. We can look forward to that. But in the meantime, we'll keep an eye on the markets for you, and we'll do another one of these next week. Yeah, take care of your liver. I think, yeah, not all of us are in that position, Bean. Take care of yours. Okay, we'll talk to y'all later. Thank y'all again.
Thanks, everyone. See you guys.